I will not bore you with my German because it's really bad, but let's go. So, I would like to start with a question. Which one of these garments is real? Can anybody tell me? So, hands for this side. Who thinks this side is real? Yeah, and who thinks that side is real? Hands? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is actually a virtual garment. So this is all created in 3D. It's never seen daylight. It's all been created inside the software. It's a render of a garment. There's no fabrics touched. So I'd like to propose another question. Oh. Yeah. So, which one of these people is real? Which one of these two guys is a real person and which one is virtual? So, hands for the right. Who thinks this person is virtual? And who thinks that person is virtual? All right. They're both virtual. They're both created entirely on the computer by an algorithm. If you think about it, we can actually start to design humans because these are celebrities that don't even exist. So I'm going to take you on a little journey through a virtual world, and I would love to share my vision with you guys. So it all started with me with the fact that what is actually the fashion industry doing on the digital end? Because what does digitization in the fashion industry mean? At the moment, it's mostly Instagram, posting pictures of fashion shows, just creating images, and it's like a real life show, and they post it on Instagram. There's influencers that can influence people, that is very nice. So there's just a little bit of digital stuff happening in the fashion industry, but are they actually really using digital technology? That is the question. So, during my studies at the Amsterdam Fashion Institute, I realized that the fashion industry is so incredibly polluting, and as you just all heard from another talks, is that, what are we actually adding to this world with another collection? And it's a question I asked myself during my studies. It's like, what am I really adding to this world? Is it really necessary to create another collection? And really, during my studies, I realized I'm a designer and I want to become a fashion designer, but then, am I really creating anything valuable? Or am I not? And then this question started pounding in my head. And I gave it a thought, and I came across a technology which was really nice to use. And this was during my studies, during something that I did outside of the curriculum. So I did it outside of Amsterdam Fashion Institute. I went to the Media Lab in Amsterdam, and we created a project which consisted out of a multidisciplinary setting. So everyone did something else, and I was the designer, but there was also an interaction designer, a 3D designer. There were a lot of people working on this product. And there I realized that I came across this software which could actually create clothing without ever touching fabric. And I thought, this is going to be the future. And I really, really believed in it. So then I started using it, and this is 4 years ago. This is the first digital collection I've ever made, and this is already a very old project. And the digital collection was also something that we wanted to show digitally. So we basically wanted to see whether we could present this in a digital space and how people would react to that. So we created an environment for the designs. They existed in this virtual world in VR, and they were basically moving, and we did this with motion capture. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And it was such a great experience to me to see that fashion could actually still live in a digital space. We created very high ground, so people would look down and it would just feel a bit weird, and we were trying to create a mood that also fitted the collection. This VR fashion show existed fully on the digital level, and we still wanted to include people to be there. So what we did is we sent out Google Cardboard glasses, which is a VR glass for your mobile device, and we sent this out to all of the people that were on the invitation list, and it could actually be anyone. And the idea was that you could watch the show from anywhere you were in that moment, and that you could basically watch this fashion show when you're sitting on the toilet or when you're having dinner. Doesn't matter, like you can always be there. And this was just such a new idea, because technology is really getting us together in a new way. It's another way of interacting with each other. So we sent out this kit, and people can put it together themselves. And this was the start of my journey to the virtual world. I realized that this technology is extremely far in other industries. So 3D modeling is being used within the architecture industry, within the car industry. A lot of industries are actually using the benefits of 3D design, because this building, for instance, is a fully 3D rendered building. So it doesn't exist, it's not a photograph, it's rendered, it's made on a computer. So this technology is now available for fashion, and I thought, how much material could that save? How many collections could not just be produced, but could just exist in a virtual space without ever having to do a fashion show, without ever having to make samples, without ever having to send those out? I thought this could be such an amazing chance to work with, and I'm so happy that they created the software, but it didn't feel like fashion to me. So I was on this quest to see what fashion actually meant in a virtual space. So this is a little bit technical what the software looks like. So on that side you have the flat patterns, which is just something that you cut out of the fabric. So people that are not in fashion, this side is what you cut out of the fabric. The other side is the 3D side. This is what you actually create in 3D, and this is how you can immediately see what you're making. So the revolutionary thing about this is that I was able to visualize my designs, and I could change them constantly without having to go back to my sewing machine, cut the fabric again, sew the garment again. It was such a really slow process for me, and I realized that it was not fast enough for my design, the way I designed, so my design method. And it was so nice to see that this could actually exist in this way, and you can just save your file, and if you cut in the fabric, you can try stuff out, and if it doesn't work, you just hit Ctrl-Z. It's that easy, and your garment goes back to where it was. So this is a whole new way of working, and to me it was super interesting to go that direction. So this is a little bit of an overview of what it looks like in movement, because you can also totally see what it looks like when it moves. And that was to me even more amazing, because as designer, you're designing for a moving garment. You're designing for someone that walks. You're not designing on a doll. A human doesn't stand still. So in fashion school, for instance, we just learned how to drape around the doll, and this doll does not move. So if something you draped on the doll and the model would walk and all this stuff would fall off, that's kind of what you had to deal with. And now I can design for motion as well, and that was for me super interesting. So this was a little part of my end collection. So I came back with this crazy virtual world to my study, and they were okay enthusiastic about it. Like, okay, you can try and graduate with this if you want. You can try and graduate without any garments. We'll see how it works. We'll see how it works out. There was space for that. So as you just heard Peter speak, he was my teacher, and he said, okay, there is some space for that. You can try stuff out, see how it works out, see if it works. And I did, and I decided to actually go fully virtual. This was my inspiration. So this is a company called Magic Leap, and And what they develop is augmented reality glasses. What this means is that you can see with these glasses, you can see virtual objects in the real world. And I thought that was so interesting, and yeah, it fascinated me completely, and I was sold on this idea that we could see virtual objects around us moving in space. And I thought, wow, this is going to be such a crazy world if we can all see like dolphins and whales and whatever fish coming flying at you. I thought it would be super nice. So that was my inspiration. And then I thought, what if this virtual hologram could move around your body? What would it mean for the identity of you as a person? What would it mean if this hologram would move with you while you would walk? And what would it mean if we would just get rid of clothing at all? So I went and created this base suit that I also created in the digital space on a body scan of a person. So this is a body scan of someone. This is an actual model that stood in the scanner. And I created this body suit that was fitted to her body. And over that, designed a virtual collection. So it was actually all holographic garments. And they were just virtual. It was a virtual wardrobe. So this would mean that, for instance, if you would walk on the street with this base garment, it would keep you warm, it would be super comfortable. And then over that would be this virtual layer of expression. And if you would go to a party, for instance, and feel underdressed, you would just download a new outfit. Like, it's that simple. And those ideas are like ideas of the future. And yeah, again, like, that was what really fascinated me. So I tried to recreate that with my exhibition. So this is what it looked like in the space. I created a sort of hologram screen through which the garments were visible on a real model. It was a gimmick because the technology does not exist. So I had to come up with my own ways of trying to create this. And I did not do this alone because I worked together with people who actually really helped me to visualize these ideas. And I believe that the future is about collaboration. And with this collaboration, you can get so much further because you don't know anything about 3D modeling. I mean, I didn't know anything about 3D modeling. So I asked someone else if they can help me because they have their own speciality. And with that, you create this really interesting atmosphere from which you learn from each other and you work with each other, and then suddenly you come up with these visualizations that actually were really great to help me visualize my idea. So this is a little bit of a movie. So this is the hologram moving with the garment. Or with the model, and I motion captured this, so the garment was actually moving and it was pre-recorded, but yeah, of course in the future it would be amazing if it would not be pre-recorded, but it was not possible. So you have to work with the stuff that you have, and it's about prototyping your ideas, because then it gets visual, then it becomes something. And I actually had the possibility to show this digital collection together as something that I worked on with a very big project on Amsterdam Fashion Week. So I was actually able to show this entire virtual collection on Amsterdam Fashion Week back in 2016. And it was the first virtual collection to ever show there, and it was quite a crazy production. And I had a lot of help from also artists who created this environment around her. So that was Pieter and Viola, they were really amazing. And Peter Levering helped me produce it, so he was actually really on the forefront of getting this on Fashion Week. So I did graduate with 8 outfits that never existed. So it's kind of crazy if you think about it. And I have a little bit of a movie that shows the show on Fashion Week and how we produced it. I don't think there's sound, but I can talk over it because it's Dutch anyway. So there's a little bit of the production. You see Peter. Oh yeah, there's a little bit of Dutch anyway, so it's fine. And that's me. And so it was a huge production with 3 holographic screens that the model would walk through, and she would go on a journey going through these holographic environments. And And yeah, she was wearing this skin suit, and with that she was moving with the holographic images. And we had a lot of people working on this. So the motion capture was done by someone else, the 3D modeling was done, and here you see the screen. So this is 45-degree angle that kind of creates that effect. And there were animations with the garments, they were moving, it was dancing, and it was really trying to create this positive image of the future. And that to me was the most interesting thing, because it is a lookout on what it might look like when we stop wearing clothing, but when we try and see what technology can do for us. Yeah, so as I say here in the video, it doesn't have to disappear. Clothing doesn't have to disappear, but maybe we can look into alternatives and try and look into a brighter future, because we all know that we cannot go on like this anymore. Yeah, and it was a very highly sponsored event, so I'm super happy that everyone believed in that vision so much. But yeah, it's quite crazy to be able to work with these people. It's a very technical setup, and yeah, you cannot see it super well. Here you see the suit, and she was also moving through the audience, like showing that yeah, it's another kind of way of working, and it was just super interesting project. There's all the partners involved. So that was like right after my graduation. This was 2 years ago. I graduated 2.5 years ago now. So this was 2 years ago in July 2016. And after that, I started investigating this virtual space even more. So, I hope this works. Yeah. So this is an example of a motion capture suit. This is a suit a person wears, and all the movements that they do are recorded in virtual space. So basically every dance move she did was recorded, and we used that within the computer to simulate the clothing on. And it looks very dry and very 3D like. I hope this works. Yeah, oh, one back. No, okay. Well, it's like after that we created these amazing renders that actually showed the garment, and the model was moving with it, and it was a whole dance performance we did, and it only existed in virtual space again. So it was kind of a tryout of what it means to have clothing in a digital space. And then we had. Yeah, and then I started, I ran into my business partner, who I actually created the previous images with as well. And he is a really big 3D guy, so he works in 3D and visual effects industry, and he does a lot with movies. And with him, I developed an entire workflow through which we can create these really high quality images, really high quality garments that you almost don't know if it's real or not. And that's what we're striving for, because we want to blend that world. We want to blend the virtual and the real. And this is an example of what he made with Tamara's design. So it's another designer. It's more sportswear oriented. And this is a little video of what it looked like. We wanted to